Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, "Everyone must succeed. Failure is not an option." Welcome to McBain Moments. Alright, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Manor. Make sure you take a moment and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time. So make sure you subscribe. Also, please go to patreon.com/JulianMcBain if you'd like to support my work. Your efforts and support are appreciated. Okay. Everyone has to succeed. If you don't succeed, what happens? You don't have food, you don't have a roof, your family also fails. Failure is not an option. So what do? Well, when things get tough, you have to grind in and grit down and get tougher. And it's not easy. It's going to be painful sometimes. But you have to be willing to do it. You have to look at things realistically and say, okay, things are tough right now. I need to get tougher. Because failure isn't an option. If you fail, then where do you end up? You hit bottom. When you hit bottom, your family usually comes with you. Is that an acceptable solution for you? I hope not. Because those who allow themselves to fail will only encourage those who come after them to accept failure as well. But you also need to rethink the phrase failure. Because most people think an individual failure makes them a failure, and that's not true. Failing at an individual task is not failure. It's a learning experience. It's feedback. It's like, okay, this didn't work. Let's try something a little different. It's not failure, it's feedback. You didn't give up on the goal. Failure is when you stop trying. When you stop trying, there's no chance of success. That makes for failure. So what do? You look at the situation you're in, and you have to come up with a plan. And then when you come up with the plan, you have to stick to the plan. You can't just go like, oh, well, this step didn't work, so I guess the whole plan is no good. No. Say, this step didn't work, so how do we alter the step so we can make it to step 4? That's how you succeed. And it's going to take time, it's going to take grit, it's going to take pain and suffering. But it doesn't matter. You have to continue to execute the plan until the goal is reached. And after you reach the goal, you move toward the next goal. Cardone, who's someone I like to quote a lot because he has modernized Napoleon Hill's philosophy, which of course originally came from Andrew Carnegie. And all of this stuff kind of flows into each other. Success is my duty, obligation, and responsibility. Think about that for a second. Success is my duty, obligation, and responsibility. This is probably the wisest line Grant Cardone has ever spoken, and he's spoken a lot of them. By deciding that success is an ethical requirement, rather than just being a hope or a dream, you realize that the only acceptable option is to succeed. The only acceptable option is success. That's the only way you can ethically go through your life. If you understand individual failures as not failures but feedback, you'll see that it's not a failing of ethics if you make a mistake. I mean, unless you make an ethical mistake, then that's of course a failing of ethics, but a mistake in and of itself is not an ethical failing. It's feedback to know what steps you should have taken instead of the ones you did. But it also prevents you from stopping. Since I believe I have internalized that motto, success is my duty, obligation, and responsibility, I continue pounding out videos 7 days a week. I'm aiming toward that success. I continue to watch my channel grow. That's being pushed toward success. I'm increasing the amount of content I'm creating in the written space. And I have started producing articles again on my website at McBainmanor.com. That's me pushing. I've increased the activities I have at my 9 to 5 to try to increase my success there. It's my obligation to do so. Because if I fail, I drag my family down with me. I've done it before and I will not allow it to happen again. So the question is, what are you doing to fulfill that ethical obligation you have to succeed? And if you're not doing anything, if you're allowing the status quo, and for some of us, we have to do that for a while. You know, there's going to be times in our lives where we have to take a pause. There's nothing ethically incorrect. There is nothing that is bad about taking pause when you need the opportunity to see where the path leads you, as long as you don't stop there too long. If you find yourself at that stopping point, it's time for you to look at yourself and go, okay, I have been here for X amount of time. Obviously, nothing's changing. If you're not changing for the better, if you're not getting, if you're not climbing, if you're not getting wealthier, if you're not finding ways to increase your ability to do things, then you're at least at a stopping point. And when you're at a stopping point too long, all of it begins to decay. Things get harder. Inflation's a thing that exists. And I'm sorry to say, but cost of living raises ain't going to sustain you forever. Success is your duty. Go read the 10X rule. That's where Grant Cardone lays that out. Now, I hadn't planned on this being a lecture on Grant Cardone, but you know what? It's as good a place as any to do one. Once you internalize the idea that success is an ethical obligation, you'll really start to understand why people are driven to do so. Why people are driven to put the work in to do ridiculous things. To do it yourself.